Hello, welcome to another live. Here we are every week, every Monday at 7 Central European Time, and this is your chance to get a free class, get some free coaching. And yeah, today we're going to be talking all about happiness, inner happiness. And this is a follow-on from last week. Like, there were lots of questions that came in, and I wanted to continue because I couldn't cram everything into one live. So today we're going to continue with some of the topics and the questions that came up. And yeah, so first, just let's take an inhale and exhale. Let's connect with the breath. So it can be really wonderful to have this time just to center, just to come back. So inhale, exhale, notice your body, notice the contact that your body has with the ground. Perhaps you're standing or sitting or walking. Just notice that contact and connecting with the breath. And this can be a wonderful way just to check in, just to notice, okay, like, where am I? Like, what's going on? Like, how do I feel? Like, so often we're caught up with all of the stories and the to-do lists and busy. And yeah, just taking a breath. I know it's simple, but it really makes all the difference. And I'm sure if you're doing it now, you will notice the difference. So last week there were quite a few questions, and there was one particular question, well, like a couple of questions related to a challenge that someone was experiencing. And this challenge is like when there are comments, when there's negativity, when there are other people like saying things, like being mean or saying things. Actually, I've had quite a few different people talk about this over the last couple of weeks. It's been quite a common topic over the last couple of weeks. And one in specifically was talking about like how, like, when the neighbors are saying hurtful things and how to deal with that and how to connect with that inner calmness and that inner happiness, like how to connect with that regardless of what other people are saying and doing. And yeah, this is a practice. It's not a click your fingers once and then you're sorted. It's a practice, and it's something that what we started today with, the breath and just feeling that contact where the body is in contact with the ground. That's one of the first things. It's really simple, really effective, practical, can do it anytime, anywhere. And that's one way to really, really come back to the here and now and the breath. Because when we're not connected to the here and now, we're not connected with the breath, we're up in the head with the stories. And often those stories are about the past or the future or some kind of meaning that we're attaching to things. And sometimes those meanings are not very helpful. And when we're attaching meanings that are like, oh, they don't like me, or like, well, whatever the topic is, like they don't like me, or I'm not good enough, or I can't get it right, or I'm doing it wrong, or why does this always happen to me, blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever meanings we're attaching to things then has a knock-on effect on our emotional well-being and as our physiology as well, like how our body responds to that. So if we're there with negative stories, that's going to create an impact to our physiology, and we're going to feel that. Perhaps there'll be more tension, more stress. I've been practicing some embodiment coaching sessions recently because I'm on another training and adding to my skills. I'm constantly learning and growing and developing my skills. And on these embodiment trainings, what's been on these practice sessions, what's been really interesting is that virtually every single person that's come to me, and I think this is pretty much across the board, maybe not the case for every single person but on this planet, but for most people, especially if they work in front of the computer and in, like, at a desk, every single practice person that I've worked with so far it's been the shoulders. Like there's been this tension, like holding on to this tension. And that's something I've noticed myself as well. And it's like, wow, like how the body responds to stress and whatever we're telling ourselves. So it's really important just to come back to the breath, come back to the body, notice the feet on the ground, and just allowing ourselves to really just be there, to be there. So yes, this is something that can be really helpful. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about inner happiness in general, because this is something I was looking back at some of my blog posts that I wrote. Those of you who don't know, I have a blog nowadays because there's so many places that I'm placing content, and I'm prioritizing YouTube at the moment. So this is where most of my stuff goes, though some of you don't know that I actually have a blog, and back in the day I was like consistently writing a blog post every single month, and sometimes more than that. And that's all on the blog. I put the link in the description so you can find that. And this is years ago. I mean, there's one particular link that I've linked to this description because it links in with today's topic about inner happiness. And that one I wrote in 2017. So we're talking about way back. So this is a while. You can see how long I've been doing this and constantly learning still. So yes, inner happiness. I wrote this blog post because it was a time that I remember I was in the airport and I was seeing some of the magazines and some of the titles of the magazines, of these wellness magazines, and some of the titles and the articles I felt were more unhelpful than helpful. And they were literally like just painting this picture of like how we need to be happy all of the time and what to do to be happy. And it's great to have some tips and tools in that, but I feel sometimes that in the wellness space, there can be this overemphasis on needing to be happy. Like everyone's searching for that. What's the next big thing? What's the next technique? What's the next practice? What's the next methodology? What's the next teacher? Like who's the next guru? Like they're looking for the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And this is the thing, it's about coming back to the simplicity, back to the basics. And those, like the searching for the next thing, the next big thing, that often comes from the mind, from the ego, like wanting something sparkly and new, and forgetting that a lot of the basics that we have, like the basics of coming back to the breath, coming back to the body, really connecting with our inner child, and simple practices, those can be the most powerful. And this is the thing, like people look for the next new thing and they don't fully integrate those basics. And to fully integrate those basics, it's not a click your fingers once and it's done. It's a practice, it's an ongoing practice, a lifetime practice. It's something that one day it might be easy, another day it might be more challenging. One day, there may be moments that you feel like, oh yeah, I'm getting really better and noticing the difference. And then other days you slip up or something happens and then you feel lots of emotions or whatever happens, and then you feel like it's all back to square one. And I've said this many times to my students that life is like a dance. Life is like a dance. So we can have it's like we can have moments where we step forward, moments when we step back, moments when we go to the side, we go to the other side. Maybe we step forward a couple more times, and then maybe we go back a couple of steps. And it's this life is this dance. It's not so much a linear journey. There are lots of twists and turns and bumps and things to go under and go over and things to explore in it. And it's that journey, that exploration where we find all of those gifts, where we find all of those those experiences, insights, skills, knowledge, stories, like all these things, like all these gifts that we find on that journey. And it's not about this one linear route from A to B, even though the mind might want that and might want like A to B for simplicity's sake, though often it's not like that. And it's this journey. There's lots to that. So life is a dance. There's like all these different directions. And the most important thing, and especially for inner happiness, is noticing which music am I listening to? Which music am I listening to? Am I listening to the music of the mind, the negative chatter of the mind? Or am I listening to this? Am I listening to the heart, the heartbeat, that inner calling, that inner passion? And if you feel you've lost touch of that, if you feel that you're not quite sure what that is, or you feel that you haven't really connected to that, get curious. I've talked about this in other classes. Like, get curious. Like, what thing did you love doing as a child? Like, what activity could you get lost in as a child? There's a little insight there. There's a little insight into what your soul loves to do. And it's more about the essence, not the actual activity. So, like, what's the core essence of the activity? Is it like, did you love being outdoors? Was it about exploring? Was it about discovering new things? Was it about being physical, like doing sports? Was it about being creative? Was it about your expression through singing, through dancing? Was it about the connection, the social aspect, like being with friends and connecting? Like, what essence was there? And that gives a little insight. And the more we connect to that, the more we bring in that into our life, even if it's just 1% more, that's one of the things that can really help us connect to this inner fulfillment, this satisfaction, this connecting to that joy and lightness. So that's something to bear in mind. And talking about like myths and myths and common perceptions. So I was talking about the magazine article and how there's this common perspective in the wellness space that we need to be happy all of the time. And if we're not happy all of the time, then we need to do something to be happy. And I feel that this is a bit unhelpful because, well, not a bit, quite a lot unhelpful, because like if you're focused on, if like the top goal is always to be happy in the sense of how sometimes people see it in the wellness space, like there's two ways of seeing happiness, and I feel sometimes like people are focused more on the instant gratification, the instant pleasure, just feeling, or more on that emotional side of that happiness rather than the deeper core. And that it's almost like that, like inner happiness is almost like is this connecting with peace, this inner peace and harmony within. So it's just things just feel more at ease. Things feel more like you just feel more grounded and centered and full of energy to continue and get up in the morning and do things, and because you feel energized by what you're doing and what you're focused on. So like often what people are searching for is this false sense of happiness. And whenever there are moments where other emotions turn up, like for example sadness, anger, fear, jealousy, like all these other emotions, and if ever there are moments where these come up, then people get into a spiral and start blaming themselves or shaming themselves or thinking, oh, like wanting to escape and avoid and trying to then get to happiness and seeing happiness as this goal, this end goal to get to, forgetting that life is a journey and it's not about being at this end goal. This is the thing, this is what people often forget about. And when you're caught up in that dynamic, then it can feel very exhausting and it can feel, you can feel pretty unhappy doing that because you just get caught up in this striving, needing to get somewhere. Whereas focusing on like, what is true happiness for you? Like, what is it really about? Like, it's really important to get clear on like what our beliefs are around happiness. Like, what do we believe about happiness? Like, what is happiness? Well, when there is this sense of happiness, fulfillment, satisfaction, this peace, this harmony in life, what's present and what's not? And what do you believe about yourself and the world and others? And what don't you believe? So it's really interesting just to notice the difference, because sometimes there can be some limiting beliefs that pop up, that beliefs that limit us in some way, of really noticing noticing those beliefs and getting curious, because like sometimes there can be this beliefs of like, oh, I'll be happy when fill in the blank. Like I said, about getting to that end goal, that is striving. And having some belief that, I mean, this is a huge one in the wellness space. Like, I can't be happy when I feel sadness, or I can't be happy when I feel fear. I can't be happy when I feel jealousy. Like, I can't connect with that inner happiness. And what I want to differentiate today is that there's a difference between that short term, momentarily experience of happiness and that long term, deeper inner happiness. There's a difference there. And when we're focused on that short term, it can get quite challenging. When we focus on the long term and we see the bigger picture and we see that greater journey in life, and we notice all the little big things, and we wake up to that bigger picture, then we connect to so much more deeper, like inner happiness, because we know in those moments where perhaps we're sad and we're crying and we're releasing emotion, yet we can also connect on some level to that relief and that release and that deeper connection that can come from that. And when we connect with that and we remember that, yeah, like part of this is part of living, part of being alive, then even in that moment of sadness and whatever we're experiencing, there's still that thread, that connection, that thread to that inner happiness. Obviously, it depends on the situation. It depends on the like the level of it. It's a lot easier when it's like if the sadness is at a level that is not so extreme, like deep grief. Though it's noticing that, yeah, their life will bring moments of sadness, anger, fear, all of that, and noticing that that's part of a whole, like a wholehearted life. I was using this phrase a lot when I was teaching NLP trainings, when I was training new practitioners, and I called it wholehearted NLP. It's like really focusing on that whole holistic perspective. And when we have that whole holistic perspective on our emotions or on ourselves, on life, and we see it as like a puzzle, and there are all these pieces, all these puzzle pieces, and that every piece is important, then it feels so much more fulfilling. There was a book by Naomi Remen, Kitchen Table Wisdom, and I might have shared this on one live before. And she was talking about when this experience when she was younger. She was, I forget how old she was, but she was very young. And she used to watch her parents do this puzzle. Like they had a puzzle table, and there would be all the pieces on the table, and like the adults in the house that they would every now and again they would walk past and add a few pieces to the puzzle, and then go about their day. And then another one will come along, add a couple more pieces, and then go about their day. So this puzzle was growing and evolving, and everyone was contributing. But Noemi, because she was young and she didn't really understand what the game was about, and she just saw it on this big table, all these pieces that she just observed, she was watching. And she was she was watching like what the adults are doing, and she saw like all these pieces, and there were some pieces that she didn't like. There were some pieces that were what she called like dark black spidery pieces. She didn't like them, that they were dark in color, and it felt frightening to her. So she left all the pretty colors on the table, and then she picked up some of the darker pieces that she didn't like, and she one by one, just over the course of the days and the weeks that passed, like she would just take a few, hide it under the sofa, and then take a few more, hide it under the sofa, and take a few more, hide it under the sofa. All the pieces that she didn't like, she would hide it under the sofa, and then left the ones that she liked. And then it came one day where her mother came up to her and asked her and said, "Oh, do you know where the pieces are?" Because all the adults were like, they were scratching their heads. They were like, "What's going on? We can't we can't finish the puzzle. Like there are pieces missing. Like what's going on?" So her mother asked her and said, "Do you know where the pieces are?" And Noemi took her mother to the room where the sofa was and showed her under the sofa. There was this pile of dark pieces under the sofa. And her mother like picked them all up, and they went to the table together. And one by one, they placed all of these pieces into the puzzle that then formed this beautiful picture. And Naomi was amazed. She was like, she couldn't believe it that all of the pieces that she didn't like, that she was trying to hide because they scared her, they formed part of that picture. That every piece was important. Every piece is part of that whole. So this is a really wonderful story that I have shared many times with students, really talking about different parts of ourselves or emotions as well, like when we're trying to avoid some and only embrace like the easy ones and or the light ones, and then get rid of the heavy ones or the ones that we find uncomfortable. And this is a wonderful reminder. So I highly recommend that book, Kitchen Table Wisdom by Naomi Remen. And yeah, there's many little stories in there. And when you hear that story, like what does that bring up for you? What does that communicate to you? Like how does that, like hearing that story in relation to the topic of inner happiness, like what insights does that bring you? It's a really powerful story, and it can really bring us this deeper awareness and insight, and be like, oh, okay, yes, like that's what it's really about. It's not about the superficial level of happiness. It's about getting to that deeper core. Like, what is life? Like, what really lights me up? Like, what's fun for me? Like, get in touch with that. And if you don't know, then explore. Try different activities out. Try different things. Explore. This is what life is about. I remember reading an article. I forget the person who wrote it. This was like 8 years ago, or I don't know. And they were talking about the meaning of life, and they were saying that their definition of like the meaning of life is to play, play in this human experience, and to learn, grow, and evolve from that play. This is how children learn when they're babies, when they're toddlers, when they're kids. Play, like learning through play and really understanding life through play. And as adults, sometimes we disconnect from that, and then we wonder why we're depressed. We wonder why we're feeling down. We wonder why we're feeling exhausted. All of this comes up as symptoms, and any symptom is a messenger. And it's this messenger like coming to us and saying there's some disconnect at some level. Like, what needs reconnecting? What needs remembering? What needs reviving? Coming back to that. Coming back to what's really important. And every person's different. Though most often, a good place to start is to connect with the breath, connect with the body, connect with your heart. Those things can really help. Yeah, so get curious, like what beliefs you have about inner happiness, about happiness in general. What beliefs are there? And yeah, just expand the perspective, expand it out. You focused on the bigger picture or just a few challenges or problems. Expand it out. See the bigger picture. Like, what else? What else is there? What else is present? A happy and fulfilled life includes tears. A happy and fulfilled life includes challenges. A happy and fulfilled life includes many things. It's that full puzzle. That full puzzle. So, check in with yourself. Take a deep breath in and out. Just notice where you're at, what's coming up for you. And feel free to ask any questions, pop them in the chat. It's great when this becomes interactive. And yeah, coming up, there's a few events coming up. So on the 20th of June in Barcelona, I'm doing a women's circle, and this is on wild woman wisdom. So if you're not a woman, then don't switch off straight away, because I've got another event for everyone coming up I'm going to explain also. So first off, just to explain a little bit about wild woman wisdom. I was talking about this on social media today, talking about how like often there's these experiences that many women experience, not everyone, but many women, where they have phrases and things said to them as a child, like, oh, be a good girl, or like just be quiet, or don't make a noise, or like really like learning as a young girl that in order to be loved, in order to feel accepted, in order to be safe, then you need to be quiet. You need to be quiet, good girl, do as you're told, not make a fuss, not make a scene. And then growing older as adults, sometimes women can experience like comments like, oh, you're too sensitive, oh, you're overreacting, oh, it must be that time of the month, blah, blah, blah. Like whenever there are emotions that come up. So as young girls and as women, like sometimes there's this tendency to want to hold everything inwards, suppress emotions, not really communicate the truth, because this is one of the human basic needs is wanting to feel that love and belonging, wanting to feel safe. And if anything is in conflict with that or threatening that, then there are learnt strategies like thoughts and behaviors that are learnt when we're young and as we grow older in order to keep that sense of safety. And then what can happen is that we then diminish that wild woman within. So this archetype of the wild woman, this ferociousness, this power, this drive, this rawness, this realness, this real authenticity, but at a level of being like barefoot, feet in the mud, like messy wild hair, and just like really like expressing whatever needs to come out, connecting to that sacred rage. And a lot of that's been forgotten, and this is such an essential part for women to really connect with that and own that. So on the 20th of June, we're going to talk about this and we're going to explore this. I would love to do like a deeper workshop one day where we actually like have a whole day where we dance it and we connect with it and paint it and like really, really connect with it. Though on the 20th, we're going to, just like start exploring that in circle with women. And there will be a guided visualization as well to connect with that wild woman wisdom and to really change the programming of the unconscious mind and to really step into your power even more and let go of any conditioning that doesn't serve you anymore. And there'll be some different embodiment practices that can help soothe the nervous system and help you to feel safe to then really connect with those emotions and your expression and your power as a woman. So that's on the 20th of June in Barcelona. And if you want more information, the information's in the description. And if you're not a woman, there's another event on the 28th of June, and that's in Villanova i Geltrú, and that will be a dance and numerology workshop, so evening, where we're going to explore through movement, through the body, and really connect to the insights of what numerology can bring up for us. And every class, I just pick different numbers, different messages, and we explore that. We use that as a basis to then dance from. So then we explore different topics like freedom, confidence, unconditional love, like really connecting with that balance between the physical world and the non-physical world, all these different topics. So on the 28th, we're going to be exploring the karmic numbers. Not all of them, because I can't fit them all into one session, but we're going to explore some of them and some of these karmic lessons that perhaps have come down from other experiences through generations or through past lives, and really exploring like what lessons do we have to learn in this lifetime, and we're going to do that through the body. So that's on the 28th, and again the information's in the description. So that's what's coming up, and as always, one-on-one sessions are available worldwide, online, or also in person in Barcelona. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here. And yeah, get curious, like what changes? Notice what changes when you connect with the breath, when you connect with the body, when you connect with the ground beneath you, nature. And when you expand the perspective and recognize inner happiness as that full puzzle, full puzzle, and really connecting to that, like at the very core of that. So we got that on a personality levels, like seeing all the different parts of us and the different emotions that can come up and different tendencies and traits. And then at the very center of that is that core, that essence, like whatever label you choose to place on that. Soul, essence, core, like whatever label, everyone's different. The life that's animating your body, your personality, connecting to that. That's at the deepest thread. So thank you so much for being here. And I'll be back again next week, same time, 7 p.m. Central European Time. And any topic requests, let me know. I'll just add them to the list. And it's lovely to hear your topic requests. So thank you. Wishing you a wonderful, wonderful week and sending much love.